So thinking about South America, it has very complex hills, which are said to be also pyramids, apparently. There's one called the Pyramid of the Sun that I was looking at on the internet, and apparently it has some sort of balcony at the top and some sort of staircase that leads to the top, as well as, you know, tunnels inside of it and a body of water inside of it. Now, some people do imagine that there's a great amount of energy and that it's being caused by the water, and it's very humid inside, and apparently some people suggest that it has healing powers, but of course, you know, a lot of energy can mean other things too. It could also be very thermal, as you know. The South American were said to be cannibals, and so you can imagine in a very thermal atmosphere with people huddling inside, the thermal degrees can actually sort of melt their skins and make their flesh fall from their bones. So that would be a very gruesome discovery if such tunnels were said to house slaves, and having the whole pyramid or the whole hillside, it's some sort of roastery or cookery. But on the other hand, having a post up the top means that they could have a good view of the valley, so it might be used for other purposes. Some suggest that the energy could somehow circulate and spew from the top in some sort of magical wave. The South American peoples to actually perform magic tricks, which, you know, as most Indians of the Americas were said to be able to do. But some people think there are many different things. I mean, maybe the energy could provide some sort of levitation to perform magic tricks such as levitating. They're said to be space goers, the South Americans, so maybe all that energy could provide some sort of anti-gravitational effect and allow for people to create spaceships or things that can catapult to the sky. Some people even claimed once that they could make parachutes and almost, instead of fall, sort of glide and hover in some sort of way around the place. But no one knows if that is actually true. It's hard to really actually hypothesize when there's so many possibilities that it could be just a thermal mountain, where the mountain was made over some sort of volcanic crater, causing it to be additionally thermal than usual. Some caves have mainstream gas that have been able to ignite, and they have actually been called fire mountains, and the scientists have discovered that it's a source of gas that has been ignited, that has been able to provide the flames and fire that are inside the mountain. So this could be a similar thing, where it's over some sort of volcanic crater or something. There's extra moisture and vapor and additional heat. But of course, there are scientists who actually claim that the item has been man-made, because there are a series of tunnels that seem to have been filled. The filling came into the tunnels hundreds of years after the original tunnel had been created. And so it's easy to suggest that the second people who actually filled in the tunnel actually did so in order to destroy. So saying that, I guess it's safe to assume that it could have been a man-made creation. Some people want to suggest that the whole mountain was created by man. However, other people disagree and just agree that it had been carved by man. So man found a mountain and decided to carve through it a series of tunnels. However, they may have made and that means if the body of water had been brought in, then obviously it had been created to serve as some sort of man-made pool. No one knows what the pool was used for, whether there are any sort of vaults that allow the water to escape or to even be collected by rain. No one is completely sure. You'd have to be some sort of scientist of the area. It's easy to suggest that a body of water that has vaults to be able to collect rainwater could serve as some sort of pool or bathing area, whereas if it exhumes the water, it could be some sort of toilet. No one really knows at the moment. Obviously, if the mountain had been used to house peoples, then it may have been some sort of toilet area or even bathing area or drinking area. No one is certain at the moment. The cave roots suggest that it could have been used for habitation. There are also planks of stone everywhere with supposed little crystals or stones within some sort of man-made pottery or ceramic. Some people suggest that, people use those sorts of pottery stones to be able to hide things like precious stones, and so these crystals may have been wealthy, but some people also suggest that it's some sort of battery. It helps to create energy and make the atmosphere ever more warm. It could be that this mountain could have been used for winter habitation. Maybe it gets very cold and frosty in South Americas, and they need to stay warm during a winter. Such a warm cave would have been most ideal for any native inhabitants of the area. No one knows for certain, but it's not unnatural for humans to want to live in caves, whether they're hiding from the weather or hiding from an enemy. People in Europe for past many ages have been able to live underground or build tombs underground. So building tombs underground in a mountain or some sort of cave system underground in a mountain is not a surprising thing, especially if humans are wanting to live underground. Like the pyramids of Egypt, some spaces in this mountain are actually very much able to carry a person's tone of voice, and so it's called a chanting room or some such, as the Egyptians had in their pyramids, and they had places where you could really hear the voice throughout all the building, and this is much the same. You can really hear voice. That could mean that the native inhabitants use the areas for chanting, but no one knows if they actually did or whether it's just some sort of echoey room. The Pyramid of the Moon, obviously it has some sort of magnetic drop where things decrease on the top peak of its mountain. No one is very sure about the Pyramid of the Moon, if it has such as elaborate tunnels as the Pyramid of the Sun. Obviously, the Pyramid of the Sun has been most excavated, whereas the Pyramid of the Moon, you can climb to the top and just see the moon very clearly, and people say that was what it was used for, to be able to look at the moon. However, of course, there are many other theories. The magnetic drop at the peak of the mountain might actually give theories of a decrease in whatever is creating magnetic fields. So it might mean there's a cavern, it might mean there's a different material underneath it that causes things to become less voluminous, less magnetic. No one is completely sure, as it hasn't been as excavated as the Pyramid of the Sun, but it would be as interesting as the Pyramid of the Sun to be able to actually dig inside the mountain and find, covered tunnels. Obviously, with the theory of the sun and the moon is supposed to be a lot cooler. Maybe nice to hang out in the summer with, to be able to keep cool. No one is completely sure. If there were elaborate cave systems, some theorize that the creation of the Aztecs are made in these mountains. So if people crawled through them, they get side effects, in which makes them South American. So the Pyramid of the Moon would be filled with some sort of material that might make your face wrinkly or old, or even your skin cold, whereas the Pyramid of the Sun might make you hot and glowing. As you know, native South Americans sort of look old, but they can look glossy and vibrant in the heat. Perhaps the mountains were used to make inhabitants look as royals, have their looks adhered to in a particular way to make them appear as the South Americans that were wanted during their time. No one is really sure, but they could be used for anything. One last theory is the fact that Aztecs would be able to create magical feats. Maybe the Pyramid of the Sun was used to be able to levitate objects away from the mountain, and maybe they were able to float across to the Pyramid of the Moon, and its anti-gravitational effect, because of whatever is here, caused the objects that were able to levitate able to become unnaturally drawn towards the mountain. That is the most outstanding theories that comes with the art of levitation and magic. Another theory is, if they were just used as outposts, you can probably see the sun really well from here and the moon really well from here, and they might chant to the sun and they might chant to the moon in order to be able to connect with their gods. That is another plausible theory. However, it does ignore the fact that there may be tunnels running through the pyramid. It seems to be, with the architecture, that some pottery seems to be almost Greek in style, however very plain, so perhaps medieval. Some of the tablets show signs of medieval architecture in a native way, suggesting that the tunnels or the places may have been inhabited by medieval peoples. Some of the statues even showed large, fat, voluminous bodies, similar to African tribes who actually showed fat as beauty. So perhaps there might have been a mix of peoples who have migrated from South Africa, or even England or Russia. They've migrated from overseas to become Mesoamericans. With the finding of some medieval architecture, and also some people who have strange beliefs that the South Americans are related to Christians or very influential religions in the Europeans, might suggest that someone has managed founding a kingdom with a dead famous lord such as King Arthur. Not many would suggest Alexander the Great, but you never know, it could have some Alexander the Great in there too, suggesting ever stronger links to kingships from Europeans that have been led to South Americans in exile and created a new race. But of course, that is a bit of an outlandish theory. Many people try to connect spiritual and metaphysical things to ancient cultures, such as the pyramids, whose ancient pyramids create some sort of healing. These mountains are the same, especially the Sun Mountain, where its humidity levels and electromagnetic waves help to heal people of ailments and pain problems of their bodies. say what you will, but people might also just be suggesting that warmth and humidity helps to ease a person of ailments, which most people are actually discovering and using humidifiers for, to be able to clear congestion of the chest, to ease colds, etc. It makes a person well, humidity levels. And it's probably wrong to say that mountains were made to heal. However, if you do find such a mountain and discover that you do feel well, I mean, that just promotes good health and healing, which many South Americans will swear to, being able to look young for so long and be able to be of good health for so long. It would be a positive thing to open tourist routes to be able to be healed by use of the... No one has much taken much notice of the water that's inside. Is it seawater? Is it spring water? Is it water with urine in it? Is it water with blood molecules in it? What sort of water is it? Is it acidic? Can you drink it? The type of water might help to reveal signs of its use in the pyramid. Once they discover the kind of water that's inside, whether it's rainwater washed inside or whether it's collected water that has been inside for millions of years or thousands of years, we'll sort of discover more tales of the South Americas. I mean, if it was made as a pool for swimming, it might be fresh water or salt water. If it was made for a toilet, it might have ancient genetics inside. It might have urine. Is it acidic? Can you put a foot inside of it without the skin falling off? And if you can, would that be sacrificial water? Or perhaps the South American peoples were some sort of alien beings who just create really contaminated water with their body fluids. No one knows. A lot of South Americans are said to have AIDS. Maybe South Americans are ancient AIDS carriers. AIDS can hence make a foreign drinker weak and fall ill of health very quickly. It would really tell a lot about South Americans if they sort of did research on the body of water in order to tell what kind of contaminants it might have, etc. Or if it was very clean, maybe the warmth and vapor and make the water ever more drinkable. Or perhaps the water is very warm and thermal, having it able to create steam or electricity. No one is very sure, but it would be good to be able to do research on the water in order to discover more about the water itself and what it could have been used for. There's very much a lot to discover about these pyramids. They're also said to be sort of, like I said before, some sort of ceramic with little crystals, or it is assumed to be crystals or diamonds inside. Was this a semi-precious stone? Was it a clever way of hiding a semi-precious stone from robbers? Or perhaps it did have properties like the tour guides say, and to be able to create tables for healing, or even crystal gazing, or even just some sort of electromagnetic wave to make the tunnels ever more warm. No one is completely sure if the crystals were said to be there for a reason, or whether they were just there to be kept safe. As already previously stated, there's a lot to discover about South American pyramids, and until things are properly analyzed and have all the theories closed to be able to create a safe and fairly secure assumption of what life was like and how the elements were used, then there is still yet a lot to discover.